Hello, everybody. It's the second week of 2023, and we are off and running. I'm going to kind of go over to the chart immediately for this week that's coming ahead, because there are factors in play that I think might be relevant to what it is that we should pay attention to. The attempt each week when I do these things is to constrain the, what shall we call it, the vast opportunities of planetary interaction with one another, just to, make sure that I can be concise and not ramble on for an hour or two each week about the conversations that these planets are having with one another and where we might come down on one side of the equation or the other in any one of these scenarios. This week begins with a nice little trine here between Venus up here at 8 degrees Aquarius, Mars in retrograde down here at 8 degrees of Gemini. And for all intents and purposes, Mars, which has been traveling through Gemini since a long time ago, has been traveling also out of bounds since October 10th of last year, and will be out of bounds until around May 5th of this year. And I'm going to throw some out of bounds factors into this equation because it's not something that, how shall we put this in an effective enough way? It's when a planet is out of bounds, it's functioning at a different wavelength than when basically it's inbound, or essentially under the auspices or the control of Saturn and the sun. The sun, that vitality, the focus of light energy, the expression of life coming forth like that. And Saturn is like, we need to put some structures around this experience and stuff. Well, when a planet is out of bounds, structures go out the window. The dictates of what the sun might think is the appropriate thing to do also kind of goes out the window for whatever that particular planet's forte might include. Well, Mars, action, impulse, the driving desire to, to begin things, to start things, not necessarily with a direction in mind. It's the ruler of Aries, and as such, one of my astrologer friends says, here's a essential Mars, ready, fire, aim. That order is not exactly what you would say is the most effectively or efficiently well thought out process. Usually it's a good idea to aim before you fire. Anyway, we have this trine. Trine is an aspect that says these two energies, they're both in air signs, are trying to work copaesthetically with one another. And here we have the masculine energy of Mars and the feminine energy of Venus at work. The possibility of relationship, always on the table. The Martian factor is a driving kind of energy, as we have mentioned, but it's out of bounds. Where is it driving to? You have to ask the question, might there be factors at work that are firing on, different levels of what is hoped for, then, might be considered appropriate. Out of bounds. Appropriate. To who? That is an out of bounds factor to always consider. And, while I'm speaking of out of bounds things, we're in a cycle where every 2 weeks right now, the moon is basically out of bounds. Every other week, the moon's going to be, and it happens to coincide with, for a while right now, all the new moons and the full moons. We just had a full moon with the moon out of bounds Friday night, and hopefully you all have recuperated from what wild and crazy things you may have been stimulated to do. And it's going to be in play for every one of the full and new moons that we're going to go through for the next little while. That moon factor, how we feel. What is our sensing of, our connection to home, family, our parents, that kind of stuff that are on the table. And there's some wiggle room, we'll call it, in factors that are going to come into play at each time we're setting our intentions for the next month, or each time we're considering if our intentions are appropriate. Those are the new and full moon factors that are going to be on the table. And just would I say that, it's going to be cut and dry what it is that needs to happen? Oh, heck no, I would not say that. I would say that, make sure that you keep some salt handy, because everything you guys should, with just a wee modicum of salt to make sure that, the spice is appropriate to what our investigative curiosity might lead us toward. Anyway, back to our Mars thing. Well, Mars at 8 degrees of Gemini down here is essentially, it isn't stationing yet. It will on Thursday this week, but it's not going very far. It's sitting at 8 degrees. It's been at 8 degrees for a while, and will be for a while longer as it switches from retrograde to direct. In the realm of Gemini, what are we curious about? What do we want to learn? What do we want to talk about? And like I say, it is out of bounds. Been out of bounds since October. Will be out of bounds until early May. And adventurousness. You have to include adventurousness in this equation, because after all, it's in the sign of Gemini right now. So there's a curiosity level that is, how to best put this, in making sure to turn over every stone to see what's going on underneath, what's going on in the background. This is a level of curiosity that definitely speaks to the Gemini process. I want to know how things work. I want to know why it is that this is taking place and stuff like that. Even though that sounds a little like Virgo, it's still the Gemini ruled sign. And Gemini right now, up here in Capricorn, the realm of the politician is, and it's in retrograde as well. So it's not necessarily functioning to its, what shall we call it, its epitomal capacity to make sure that our thought processes and our perceptions are clear. You may have noticed this recently in something called the election of the Speaker of the House. Yeah, there is some thoughts that are running rampant and multiple venues that are on the table that, to try and give them the handle of clarity, I think is a stretch. But I don't want to get into the political side of things. Anyway, Venus, on when we start this week, Venus is in this trine to Mars. Venus is in Aquarius, and so we have the energy of, we have group energy. Aquarius, that's group energy on the table. The Venusian side says that how we get along with one another is very important to the functioning of group energy. You got this out of bound Mars in a trine to this thing down there in Gemini. And so, communications on the table, Mars out of bounds. What kind of communications? Yeah, I would say that you need to make sure that your parameters are set wide, because the things that are going to surface and want to be considered in conversational level are probably going to exceed what it is that you might say is common sense. There's action. Yeah, there's action. There's actionable stuff. Anyway, during this week, Venus is going to go from here at 8 degrees to 15 degrees of Aquarius, which at what point it will be square to Uranus, the theoretical modern ruler of Aquarius, also retrograde, right now down here in Taurus. And so that's the bookends for the week, Saturday or Monday to Sunday. The trine to Mars and the square to Uranus. This is kind of like, this is the package that the Venus flavor going to Aquarius, trying to really be innovative and ways to bring together group energy in a methodology that can grow. This is what the Venus would really like to do. Okay, let's go ahead 4 days to our Thursday. I'm not going to get into all the different aspects that you see there on the screen. Here it is, Mars, Thursday. See the red S? That means it's still going backwards, but for all intents and purposes, it's standing still. It's stationing out of its retrograde dance that it's been doing, for quite a while now. Let's see, I don't have it all right here, but it was in December 29th? Yeah, maybe it was December 29th. I think it was before that. Gotta look at my notes here and see what they say. Mars retrograde. Oh, October 30th. It's been retrograde for a while. The shift from retrograde to direct for this Mars, I probably wouldn't put an overt amount of importance on this experience taking place beyond the fact that Mars at 8 degrees of Gemini is really the focus, because it's been at 8 degrees for days. It will be at 8 degrees for days. It's stationary. It's sitting there in that first decanate of Gemini, which is Gemini, so essential Geminis. The Mercury factor comes into play, up retrograde in Capricorn, and will turn direct on the 12th, the 19th of this month. So it's not really moving very fast. And for Mercury, I kind of think of a combination of like a Ricky Racer, Speedy Gonzalez kind of energy, which definitely carries that forte of a mercurial curiosity and wanting to to actually do push the realms of what it is that I'm experiencing. In retrograde right now, it's kind of like I need to rethink. There's a lot of, you could put re in front of a lot of words to look at the experience of what it is that a Mercury retrograde stands for. But it's, easy to conceive of the idea that the political, what should we call it? The political theater, it's a really good way to put it these days, is attempting to continue to go forward. But Mercury in retrograde up there in the 10th house is saying, well, yeah, you can go forward, but you may have to redo some things coming up when Mercury goes direct that weren't exactly thought through as well as they could have been. The options. The options. And on this day, no, not on this day. Yeah, let's see, I'm going to go a couple more days forward to our Saturday. Nope, to our Sunday. Fast week. This is actually going to be a short consideration. Let's go back one day. On this day, which is Saturday, the moon over here at 19 degrees of Libra at 8 o'clock in the morning is going to travel 12 degrees. And so if you think of 12 degrees during this day, the moon is actually going to move into its last quarter square, its waning quarter square to the sun. A crisis in consciousness kind of thing as to making a determination, have I, or are the things that I'm doing appropriate to what it is that I, as a soul being, am aiming toward growing through my presence in this incarnation. And a last quarter moon, which has a lot more to do with the intention set at the last new moon, which was in very early Capricorn, as to the appropriateness of that interactive space between those in positions of leadership and the general populace. That was kind of what was on the table for the setting of the intention for this monthly cycle. This crisis in consciousness that takes place here on Saturday with the moon in Libra, the realm of the other, asks, in what it is that I set for my intention at the beginning of this lunar cycle, is it inclusive enough of as many others as it possibly could be? That's a question that, this is a crisis in consciousness. This is something to, take to heart, think about. Am I on an appropriate path that is inclusive of enough others in the scenario of life that we might be able to converse at meaningful levels that will enhance the process of what we share with one another? And we get to the last day of the week, Sunday. Sunday, here we have Mars, but Venus, actually, if we go back one day. You can see Venus is at early Aquarius the next day. Venus is at later 15 degrees of Aquarius. It has moved, past by a little bit this exact square to Uranus. So like kind of overnight, Saturday into Sunday, Venus makes that square to Uranus, retrograde down there in Taurus. Uranus, we will call it a wild card as far as what might be stimulated along the Taurian line, and being in a square aspect to Venus up there in Aquarius, you could say it's conceivable, how this will work out, I don't know, that the easy flow of energy that is available within a group context might be challenged In what way? I would say that because it is a Uranus factor, unpredictable ways. You just don't see it coming. It's there though, and uh, something to really do some soul searching on, as far as you know what what would be ideal for whatever group you happen to be considering to to focus on, and then ask yourself, is it strong enough? Does it have enough durability to be able to take some kind of a shakeup in the energy structure of what it represents? I would also include here, because the Uranus retrograde is down there in Taurus, is to ask yourself a pertinent question about the planet that we live on, about nature, about the natural world, about Mother Earth. These are all essential Taurian factors that you have to ask yourself. In this group energy format, am I being inclusive enough of my participation with this planet and Mother Nature that I live on? Essay question. This is something that you each have to do your soul searching on to make the determination. You might say, it's Uranus after all. I'm getting out of this group. They don't represent what it is that I feel in my soul needs to be represented. One of the options. Another is, I'm going to speak up. Well, Mercury's still retrograde. So use just a little bit of caution in that scenario, because you want to make sure your thoughts are clear, and having clear thoughts during a Mercury retrograde cycle, not always right up at the top of the pile. Anyway, that's all I'm going to provide for you this week. It's a short one, and I'm doing it a day early because I've got some running around that I have to do this next week, and I won't be around here and available to put this out tomorrow, so we'll put it out today. It's Sunday. Oh, what day is it? Today is January 8th. Oh, there's a lot of 8s in this consideration. Mars and Venus and Mercury going to be at 8 degrees when it goes direct. 888. Anyway, do the life dance, everybody. Enjoy the ride, and don't forget to say hello to the planets, because they're saying hello to you, whether you know it or not. Ciao for now.